Assalamu alaikum, dear students of first year class. I am here with a preparation lecture. In my last lecture, I have explained 15 questions from different first 5 chapters, second, third, fourth. Today we are going further. Next chapter is the 5th chapter. Here I'm going to I am going to discuss the next 15 more questions. I have already told you about these questions. Search out these questions and try to focus on their answers. These are the important questions for the exams. Hope you will get it, inshallah. Now I'm going to start my next lecture. First one, I have taken these questions, I think from 5th chapter. Almost all the questions are taken from the 5th chapter. Number 1 question is, whichever gas is used in the discharge tube, the nature of the cathode rays is the same. Why? This is very important question. You know, cathode rays in a 5th chapter, in the start of the 5th chapter, cathode rays are included in your smart syllabus. So first question is about the cathode rays. Question is that which one gas you can use for the cathode rays. Actually, the cathode rays are basically electrons. They are nothing. They are just electrons. So all the gases have the fundamental particle of matter. Every gas has the electron. Whichever gas you can use in the tube, in the cathode rays tube, in discharge tube, any gas you can use, the cathode rays will be the same, because cathode rays are actually what? They are electrons, and each gas has the electron. So every matter has an electron of identical nature. There is no change of electron of one gas to other. So this is very simple question, but sometimes this question is important in this point of view. Why the charge to mass ratio of the cathode rays is just equal to that of the electrons? Because it's the same answer. Charge to mass ratio of electron and the cathode is the same same things. The charge to mass of the cathode rays just equal to that of the electron, because the cathode rays are actually what? Electrons. Why the positive rays are also called the Kinard rays? If you have done experiment in the discharge tube, small openings are there in the opposite side of the cathode. In the opposite side of the cathode, in the opposite side of the anode, there is small openings in the cathode called as the kinars, holes. When the positive rays are produced, these rays, after producing, they pass through these holes and kinars and produce a glow on striking the wall of the discharge tube. Because they are passing through these holes, through these kinars, through these openings, so we can say the positive rays are actually the Kinard rays. The charge to mass ratio for the positive rays is different for the different gases, but that of the cathode rays is the same. This question is very important. The papers, mostly papers have these questions. Charge to mass ratio of the cathode rays are different from the positive rays. Answer is the same. Cathode rays are actually what? They are electrons. So they have, all the gases have the same cathode rays, same electrons, but the positive rays are positive ions of the gas, which are different. Positive ions are what of the gas used in the discharge tube? They are the different. All the gases have a different masses. You know what is the atomic mass? Proton plus neutron. So all the gases have different mass. So the charge to mass ratio of this value is different from the different gases, but for the electron it will be the same, but for the positive ions it will be changed due to the atomic mass. Hydrogen is the lightest gas. You know hydrogen is the lightest, so it has the highest charge to mass ratio, right? Charge to mass ratio is highest in the case of the hydrogen. Potential energy, we have done mathematically derived. We have derived the mathematically energy of an electron. We have also derived the radius of an electron in the chapter number 5. Radius and the energy of electron in the chapter of 5. This question is taken from the energy. The potential energy of the bonded electron is negative. You have done so many times. You have calculated the energy of an electron and radius of an electron so many times. So you can conclude your answer that the answer will be the negative. Why is it negative in the case of the potential energy? Very simple, because the free electrons or the mobile electrons have a large distance from the nucleus, so there is no attraction, less attraction between the nucleus and the outermost electrons. You can say the electrons are present at the infinite. They are considered to be at the infinite distance from the nucleus. When they are present in the infinite distance, the energy, potential energy, will be the zero. So when you are taking this electron, I have told you in classroom study, when you are taking, so at the infinite, potential of energy of the electron is zero. Why it is zero? Because of the long distance and there is no attraction between the nucleus and the electron at the infinite. So when you are going to take these electrons from the infinite towards the nucleus, so what is the potential energy? Potential energy at infinite distance is zero. When the electron, you are taking the electron from infinite towards the electron and the electron come closer to the nucleus, its potential energy is decreases. So when you are going towards the zero, it becomes the negative and it represented by the negative sign. The total energy of electron is also negative. You know, the total energy is the kinetic energy plus the potential energy. Here is potential energy is negative, as we have done in first question. So on the whole, result total energy becomes negative. The bond angle of water and the ammonia are not 109.5 like that of the CH4, although oxygen, nitrogen and the carbon are sp3 hybridized, right? This question is taken from the hybridization and I think from the 6th chapter, chemical bonding, where according to the SMART syllabus, most of the questions, most of the topics are disappeared from the chapter. Now the bond angle is, this question is taken from the 6th chapter, chemical bonding. Here is the hybridization. There is 3 types of the hybridization: sp3 hybridization, you know, sp2 hybridization and the sp hybridization. And this is very important in the case of if you are taking CH4, ammonia, water. What are the central atoms? Carbon, nitrogen and the oxygen. And all the 3 atoms are sp3 hybridized. They are bonded with the to the 4 corners are occupied. So in the case CH4, the bond angle is 109.5, but if the hybridization is same in the ammonia and the water, but in the case of the ammonia, bond angle is 107 and in the case of the water, bond angle is 104. Why is it happened? Either they have the same hybridization, that is called as the sp3 hybridization. Very easy. Why the bond angle is going to be decreased from 109 to 107 to 104? Very easy, because 1 lone pair of nitrogen and the 2 lone pairs of the oxygen. There is 1 lone pair in the nitrogen, you know, and 2 lone pairs present on the oxygen. They repel the bond pairs. So ammonia has 1 lone pair, so the angle is less reduced. While the water has the 2 lone pairs, more repulsion, so the angle is further reduced to 104. Although they both have sp3 hybridization, but bond pair is replaced by the 1 lone pair in the case of nitrogen and 2 lone pairs in the case of the oxygen. So repulsion is greater. When the repulsion is greater, bond angle is more reduced, squeezed. Dipole moment of carbon dioxide and CH2 is 0, but that of the sulfur dioxide is 1.6. Carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide both have the linear structure. In linear structure, dipole moment, individual bond cancel the effect of each other. One direction is one side, other direction, both are cancelled, the effect of each other. As a result, net dipole moment becomes 0. But in the case of SO2, angle is not linear, it becomes the angular. When the structure will become the angular, so there will exist a dipole moment of 1.16. We have studied three theories in our syllabus. One is the valence bond electron pair repulsion theory, valence bond theory, molecular orbital theory, and that all the theories are included in the SMART syllabus. So included in the SMART syllabus, and they are having the they are very important for the exam. So if question is that why the molecular orbital theory is superior than the valence bond theory, each theory is superior than the previous one. Here the molecular orbital theory is the superior. Why it is superior than the valence bond theory? Because valence bond theory explained the didn't explain the paramagnetic behavior of oxygen molecules, right? But the molecular orbital theory clears the concept of the paramagnetic and the diamagnetic. So in the case of valence bond theory, so it will be superior in this form. Pi bonds are more diffuse than the sigma bond, or the sigma bond is sigma bond is stronger than the pi bond. Explain. You know, in the sigma bond, what happened? The electron density is between the two nuclei, that is very stronger between the two nuclei at the bond axis. In the case of the pi bond, electron density is laying above and below the nuclear axis. So in the pi bond, cloud is expanded. It is more diffused, right? And it occupies the more space than the sigma bond. So pi bond or pi electrons are more diffused than the sigma bond, and pi bond is a weaker bond than the sigma. Why the pi bonds are weaker than? The answer will be the same. Sigma bond is formed by the head-to-head overlapping of the orbitals. In our chapter, we have discussed the pi bond is formed by the head-to-head overlapping, and the sigma bond is formed head-to-head overlapping, and pi bond is formed by the sideways overlapping of the orbitals. So electron density is maximum between the two nuclei. More energy is required to break the sigma bond. In the other case, pi bonds are formed by the sideways overlapping of the orbital. So electron density is present above and below the bond axis. That's why pi bonds becomes weaker than the. Why the energy in the molecular orbital theory? We have anti-bonding molecular orbital and the bonding molecule. There are two overlapping of orbitals, results the two molecular orbitals. One of them is the anti-bonding molecular orbital of higher energy and the bonding molecular orbital of the lower energy. Now a question raises why its energy is greater than the bonding molecular orbital. In the anti-bonding molecule, electron density is low on the nuclear axis. So it means so the nucleus repulsion is more and the system is unable and getting the higher energy. But in the case of the bonding molecular orbital, electron density is maximum on the nuclear axis, right, between the two nucleus. So attraction is maximum between them and the repulsion is going to be minimum. As a result of this, system become the stable, energy will be the low. Why the second ionization energy of the magnesium? Ionization energy, you know, amount of energy required to remove the electron, right, in the gaseous state. Second ionization energy value is in the positive, and the first is the ionization energy is higher than the first one. It is difficult. One of the, when you have to remove the electron from one atom, it becomes the positive ion. So when you are going to take the second electron, remove the second electron, so it is difficult to remove the second electron from the ion as compared to an atom. First electron is removed, low energy is required to remove the first electron from the neutral atom. When you have to sort out this electron, this atom becomes the ions. Now the electron removal is very difficult because of the nuclear charge attracts the remaining electrons strongly. Size will be small and the attraction of the remaining electrons is very high. So second ionization energy is greater than the first ionization energy. Why the electron affinity of fluorine is less than chlorine? Actually, fluorine has a small size and 7 electrons. They are very strongly forming the strong electronic cloud. So this cloud, when incoming electron, the thick cloud repels the incoming electron, and didn't allow the more electrons. So that's why, as compared to the chlorine size of the chlorine is bigger than the fluorine, so that the electron affinity is less than chlorine. Why the angle further reduced in the NF3 molecule to about the 102? In the sp3 hybridization, we have discussed nitrogen has the one lone pair, and the lone pair repulsion is greater, and angle is reduced from 109 to 107, as we had discussed before. Now, but the NF3 has a very 102. The reason is that the electronegativity of fluorine is greater than nitrogen. It means that in NF3 molecule, the bond becomes a polar. Why it becomes a polar? Nitrogen containing the positive charge and negative charge is present. 3 fluorine carrying the negative charge appears around them. The positive charge on the nitrogen atom pulls the lone pair towards the nucleus, so which in turn exerts a stronger repulsion force over the bond pair. So angle further shrinks to 102. These are the 15 more questions which I have taken from the 4th and 5th chapter. These are also very important. You can read it, you can study it from any book you have in your home, right? So in my next lectures, remaining chapter, I will sort out short questions from the remaining chapters. I hope you will get it. Thank you.